Alright, so in the last car vlog, I think I set the like goal around 5, somewhere in that ballpark. We beat it by a few thousand, so now I feel obligated to do another one. Let's do it.
It's quite possible this is going to turn out really badly because I have the audio capture jammed in the door handle with a cloth keeping it padded. It seems pretty snug. I don't know though. This is so janky.
But if you're watching this, I guess it means it did work. So, let's go.
Alright, now before you get your panties in a bunch that I'm driving auto, consider that my primary objective here is to have a conversation. Also, LA traffic is generally like super stop and go, so there's that too. But anywho, right now, and I'm really hoping you can hear me, right now, I'm going to do a few errands. I'm probably going to get some food as well. I have to go and drop off some mail, get an envelope for something so that I can ship it off, and that's what I'm doing. Had a lot of people in the last car vlog saying, man, you drove a long way for a sandwich, and that was because I wanted to make a vlog out of it. It doesn't really work if you're going to the closest place, which is like 2 minutes away. It makes for a really short vlog. Also, I enjoy driving. Driving is fun, I think, when you're not in super duper traffic, which you kind of get in this area. But once you get a little bit further, sometimes I'll like drive out on PCH or something. That's a fun thing to do on occasion. Like I said, I'm hoping that it's not like far too loud. Also, I'm like hoping the audio recorder doesn't shift around a whole bunch and that the vibrations aren't just gonna make it completely unusable, but you never know until you try, right? Whoops, toggling the air conditioning. Interestingly enough, you can actually option this without air conditioning, which, you know, weight savings, but sounds to me not like the greatest of ideas, especially if you're in a climate where it gets a little bit hot, and even if the air temperature outside isn't that bad, like, it gets toasty in here. Jordan, you have air conditioning and you're driving an auto, you frickin' amateur? We hate you. That's not how I would drive it, god dang it. I'm trying to decide what to get for food though. I get sandwiches so often that, you know, I feel like I should get something that's not a sandwich. Maybe I should get a sushi roll or something. No, teriyaki chicken. Sometimes I'll go to a place that has like teriyaki chicken and a basic California roll. It's like takeout sushi, kind of. So that's a thing that I'll get on occasion. Or what else could I do? I'm trying to think. It's all sandwiches, I swear. Oftentimes I don't even eat lunch at all. I'll just wake up, I'll do things throughout the day, and then I'll be like, oh, I'm really hungry. It's about dinner time. Yeah, I should probably eat dinner, shouldn't I? Otherwise I'm gonna go a whole day without any food. So sometimes I do go like 24 hours between meals. Like I'll go dinner time to dinner time. I know, not the healthiest thing. It does reduce my calorie intake though, but I know you're supposed to distribute like small meals over the course of the day if you really want to do things right. I've never been able to bring myself to do that. I'm really bad at even going and cooking for myself. I eat out for so many meals or get delivery because I'm probably partially because I'm lazy, partially because I like food that's prepared out. I don't know. I've said this before, but I don't think I can outdo the meals that people cook at restaurants. So I'm like, I'll eat my 1 meal a day delivery. May as well do it. Or, you know, there are these, oh, you got a nice GT3. I don't think that was an RS. That was a GT3 Porsche. There are those services you can do, the meal delivery services that like will give you prepared meals. So I need to look into possibly doing one of those because those can actually be like pretty healthy. So not a bad call. Let's get some vroom vroom action here. Let's make it loud. That's enjoyable. anyway, some people were probably like, wait a minute, he has to actually like mail something in real mail? I know, it's so archaic and outdated, right? Your life is so centralized on the internet, but occasionally you actually do have to go and mail things. It'd be, eventually I do wonder if snail mail for things like letters and text will become outdated, because you can really accomplish that all through email. So unfortunately, on this little stretch up here, I always get stuck behind people. It's a fun little stretch, fun little curvy stretch to drive at the speed limit. But I always get stuck behind people because there's only one lane that you can really do here. The other lane is like destroy your car bad. LA, it has the worst roads. It really does. I mean, occasionally there's some good stuff here and there, but overall the roads need a lot of work and the city just does not have the funds to tend to it. So over time it just gets worse and worse and worse because the potholes, the breaking down of the road surfaces happens way quicker than the city is actually able to resolve it. So I think it only gets worse over time, which is a bummer, because on occasion you run into a place where you can scrape just going on normal road. It's like you're not even entering a steep driveway or something and being careless. You're just on normal road, and maybe it's nighttime so you can't see every little indentation in the road surface, and you'll scrape. You're like, what was I doing? I was just driving down the road. And then you cry a little bit, and you dry your eyes, and you try to rethink your route for the next time. But it actually brings up a deeper topic, which is just the overall infrastructure of not only LA, but any city, in that eventually all the infrastructure does age and it gets to the point where it needs to be replaced. And you'll see occasionally here in LA, you'll get a water main that breaks and it starts spraying water all over the place. It happened last year or 2 years ago right near UCLA, which is about where we're at right now. And it flooded the entire underground parking garage next to the gym there. And that's only going to start happening more and more regularly as the infrastructure ages. There's no way that you're going to be able to replace all that stuff at the rate at which it's decaying, and you wonder when it's going to get to the point where things are really going to start falling apart and we're not going to be able to fix them quickly enough. Or then you get into the earthquake conversation, in that when a massive earthquake hits, the amount of damage and devastation that's going to happen as a result of that, assuming that it's bigger than the Northridge, which was a 6.7, say it's in the 7s or something, you're going to get so much damage as a result of that I mean, who knows how long it takes to recover. And then that stuff is still aging. Even the stuff that wasn't damaged, that's still aging. This is such a pessimistic conversation, isn't it? I mean, I guess we can look at London, for example. London is such an old city, and yet it still seems to be operating. You've got all these amazingly old buildings that, I mean, they need renovation every now and again, but from what I saw when I was there last summer, it seems like it's still in okay shape. So, I mean, hey, nice IA. It's not 8 shots anymore. But, maybe I'm too pessimistic, but it just seems like stuff does decay. And what happens when it starts going too fast for us to keep up with? What happens when the freeways, the raised interstates that we have here start getting too old? How do you rebuild the entire freeway system? We went through a big period of this industrial expansion, and now we don't really do those sorts of projects anymore. Like here in the US, most of the highways, they're already built. It's sort of already established. When was the last time you heard about a brand new highway project making some massive interstate to connect large cities? It's all sort of been done. It exists. But then what happens when all of that existing stuff starts to decay? I'm not a civil engineer by any means either, so feel free to correct me if I'm completely speaking out of line. But eventually, stuff does get old. And so you have to figure that out. And because I'm not a civil engineer, I guess I'm not the one having to deal with it, but everyone sort of feels the consequences of it, because it's how you move around in day-to-day life is the roads, and how you get your water is through all the pipes and the water mains and the electricity grid. So it does affect everyone, but it's up to a few smart people, much smarter than I, to figure out how to keep that stuff up and running. as the days go by. There's so many things in the world that I would like to learn about. I'm just interested always in how things work. I should go on that website that tells you how stuff works. I should say. Now I'm looking for parking, and I'm just going to try to find it close to where the place is. Well, just my luck, the post office place is closed. Why at like 2 o'clock on a Thursday it would be closed, I have zero idea, but it was closed. So I went and got a sandwich at least. I know I got a sandwich despite saying that I always get a sandwich and I should try to find something else. But that's what I did. So I've actually been thinking a lot about YouTube lately. I mean, well, that's so odd. Some guy who does YouTube for a living thinking about YouTube frequently. But I've been thinking about, like, part of why I'm interested in doing these things more often, these sorts of vlog style videos, is because I find that, like, when I post them, a lot of people seem to be more interested in them than even the gaming content, for instance. I wonder, right, because I've been around for quite a while in relative internet terms, 6 years is a decent amount of time. I wonder if, as a result, it's like a lot of people have grown up with me and interests change over time. And even my own interests, for example, like when I first started making the Call of Duty videos 6 years ago, I did that because I had been watching a ton of that same sort of content myself back at that point. Nowadays, I don't find myself watching quite as much I don't watch Call of Duty commentary videos myself anymore, and oftentimes what I do find myself gravitating towards is that more real-life vlog-style content, that Casey Neistat sort of thing, for those of you who are familiar with that. And so I sort of wonder, at the same time, right, if that's a shared change of perspective across a lot of the people who are watching my videos, because I think on one hand you have a lot of Minecraft channels that are really oriented towards a much younger audience in almost all their videos, like Diamond Minecart, Popular MMOs, Stampy, those channels. Then on my end, I think that my mean age is a little bit older than that, and that's a factor of A, I've probably just been around longer, and B, there's the fact that I'm not quite as PG necessarily in all my videos, and oftentimes make references to things that aren't necessarily as oriented towards kids, so it appeals to a slightly older audience than that for the most part. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've been at conventions where I still get plenty of young kids coming up to me, but I think that compared to the channels that I just listed off, it's slightly older than that, right? And so please don't like take me going on my ramblings while going for a drive as like, oh, Jordan's gonna stop doing gaming content, it's all over, folks. I'm relaying my observations, is all. That's all I'm doing. And I'm just curious, right? Because people's tastes do change over time. And 6 years is, for someone on the younger end, like, that's a pretty huge chunk of time as a percentage of their life. And interests do change quite a bit. I know that when I was 12, I had a lot of different interests than when I was 18, for example. And that's actually a possible scenario for someone who started watching me when I started, and that's how old they would be now. And maybe someone who was 12 at the time when I started, who's now 18, is interested in a different style of content, and that's maybe why you see this different sort of feedback on this style of content, the vlog style of content, versus the gameplay. And I have noticed that the large Minecraft audience on YouTube has sort of, with these large channels, shifted towards that slightly younger demographic, whereas with the people who skew at least slightly older, like me or Ant Venom or Bajan Canadian, it seems that the interest is almost more so in the live action stuff. Interestingly enough. Don't interpret that as Jordan stopping gaming content, because I'm not. Gaming content will still very much continue as it always has, because I find myself watching the more live content when I'm going and digesting YouTube videos myself. I feel like it's always been an approach I've liked to take with my content, is that, hey, you should post sort of what you're interested in, because that's how I started. I started because I was watching Call of Duty videos. I was good at Call of Duty. I was like, hey, dude, let's just show off our good scores. That's what I was doing. I was like, dude, I really want to show off when I get a good score here. Now, later on in life, I'm like, hey, I find this lifestyle content to be interesting, so why not share some of that with the people who are watching? Gosh darn, sandwich is vibrating and making noise. Yeah, man. So actually, we're gonna get close to the place where I'm gonna hopefully be able to drop off my mail. Hopefully that's not gonna be closed either, but we're getting close to home, so I might just wind things down for this particular car vlog. At least we got a sandwich. We didn't accomplish nothing. And we'll see. Again, we'll see if I'm able to successfully drop off a mail, which I kind of need to do. It's kind of important. Yeah, dude, but I think I'm going to wind things down. Me rambling about how we're all doomed and the infrastructure of our world is going to collapse and we're not going to be able to repair it all as fast as it decays. And then just YouTube talk and observing trends, and I don't know. These are meant for me to ramble. You know, I've actually, before we go, something I've thought of trying to maybe do at some point is, I think it could be fun to do sort of a driving podcast sort of thing, where it's me and then some guest in the passenger seat, and we just go for a drive and we just talk about stuff, because it seems like a good environment to do that in, right? You're kind of just relaxing, going for a drive, and we can do like a drive podcast. I don't know, I'd have to see if anyone would be interested in appearing as a guest on that, because I feel like I'm probably more enthusiastic about the idea of sitting in a car talking for an hour or so than most people would be. But still, if I can find some people, let me know if that's something you would be interested in. Don't hold me to it. This is like me spitballing very early stages. I'm gonna wind things down, and I guess I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.